أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إذا زلزلت الأرض زلزالها وأخرجت الأرض أثقالها وقال الإنسان ما لها يومئذ تحدث أخبارها بأن ربك أوحى لها يومئذ يصدر الناس أشتاتا ليروا أعمالهم فمن يعمل مثقال ذرة خيرا يره ومن يعمل مثقال ذرة شرا يره. صدق الله العظيم. مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. مولاي صل وسلم دائما على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. الحمد لله منشي الخلق من عدم ثم الصلاة على المختار في القدم. مولاي صل وسلم دائما ثم الرضا عن أبي بكر وعن عمر وعن علي وعن عثمان ذي الكرم والآل وصحبه ثم التابعين فهم أهل التقى والنقى والحلم والكرم. يا ربي بلغ مقاصدنا يا ربي بالمصطفى بلغ مقاصدنا يا ربي بالمصطفى بلغ مقاصدنا فاغفر لنا ما مضى يا واسع الكرم. مولاي صل دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك عليه. نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم. أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الصلاة تنهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر. صدق الله مولانا العظيم وبلغنا رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك لمن الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله ثم الحمد لله. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's favor and blessings upon us that today we again meet to continue our lessons. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our attendance, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enable us learn and understand the rules of Islam and the rules of reading AlQuran Al-Karim. Today we are going to do the revision of lessons which we have been doing for past 2 weeks about namaz. Then we are going to start the basic about Al-Quran Al-Karim, inshallah. So we started with the shurut al-salah, and we said in the conditions of prayers we have 3 conditions that make someone be eligible to perform namaz, and we mentioned 3 conditions, that is al-Islam, al-Bulugh, al-Aql. Islam and maturity and sanity. These are three conditions that make someone eligible to perform prayers. And also we said that although namaz and salat is not farz on children, but we said that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had commanded and ordered all parents to encourage their children at the age of 7 to perform prayers and use severe tricks to force them to perform prayers when they are at the age of 10. Then we came to the reasons of prayers, the reasons, asbab, which reasons make salah to be farz, or which reasons allow someone to perform a particular prayer. So we said that asbabuha awqatuha, the reasons of these prayers are their times. So these prayers becomes farz in terms of their times. They become farz when the time of that particular prayer comes in. And also we said that it is necessary to perform prayer at the beginning of the time allocated for that prayer. But this necessity of performing salah in its allocated time is extended rule. That meaning that as long as that time of that particular namaz is valid, during that moment, during that time, you can perform the particular namaz or the intended namaz or the namaz which is the namaz that is meant to be performed in this particular time. And this extension, we call it wujuban muwassa'a. We call it wujuban muwassa'a. Then we came to the awqat of namaz, 5 prayers. Awqatu salawat al-mafruḍa, the times of the obligatory prayers. And we said that there are 5 times for these obligatory prayers. And the first time we talked about waqtu subhi, the dawn time, the dawn prayer, the morning prayer, that is fajr prayer. And we said that min tulu'i al-fajri as-sadiqi ila qubayli tulu'i shams, the beginning of this time, the beginning of this subh prayer begins from true dawn, that is fajr, true fajr or true subh, until just before sunrise. And we explain in details about the beginning of prayer of Salatul al-Fajr. Then we discuss about Salatul Dhuhr. And Salatul Dhuhr, the time of Salatul Dhuhr, we say that من زوال الشمس إلى أن يصير ظل كل شيء مثليه أو مثله, that begins from the zawal at midday and ends when the shadow of all things becomes twice as long or equal to the object. So these are the only 2 times we have discussed about the prayers. One is Salatul Fajr and the other is Salatul Al-Dhuhr. Salatul Fajr begins from the true dawn, means min tulu'i al-fajr as-sadiqi ila tulu'i shams, from the beginning, from the time of true fajr till sunrises. And the time of dhuhr is min zawali shamsi ila an yasira dhillu kulli shay'in mithlayhi aw mithlahu, till the shadow of everything becomes equal or twice in its length. So before we go to the Tajweed, if you have any question about previous lessons, you can ask questions about it. Any question we did not understand in previous lessons? Yes. If you don't mind, speak a bit louder.
If we commit a mistake in namaz,
Becoming?
a mistake.
Okay.
In namaz, for example, for rakat, the Farah's prayer, the 4 rakat, of the 2 rakat is Ashhadu an la. When the 3rd rakat is just Surah Al-Fatiha, right? Let's say, for example, you forget attack, you just forget to say that during the 2nd rakat, you forget to say Ashhadu an la. And then you continue.
You mean that in the first tashahud, we call it the first tashahud, the first at-tahiyyat.
Yeah.
Because you have 2 at-tahiyyat, we call it tashahud. We'll come to this, or because we have taken the chapter of salah, so we'll come in all this. But let me just ask you answer this question. But ask the question about what we are in. So yes. So if you forget in the first at-tashahud to say what?
Then you continue.
If you forget to?
Then you continue.
No, if you forget to do what?
To do the first tashahhud.
Okay, tashahhud. Okay.
Then you come to the 2nd rakat.
The 3rd rakat.
Surah Al-Fatiha. And then you remember. Okay, you have just forgotten.
Okay.
What should we do?
Yeah. So first of all, you have to understand. We'll come in this topic, inshallah. But you have to understand, in namaz, you have different judgments in salat. In salat, you have some rules which we call them fard in namaz itself. Leave alone the namaz itself is fard. But when you enter into namaz, also there are rules there to be applied as fard. There are rules to be applied as actions to be applied as wajib. And there are actions to be applied as sunnat. You understand? So depends. Your namaz will be judged according to what have you left in that namaz. So if it is fard, what you have left, this is the general answer I'm giving to you. If you don't fulfill any fard in namaz, the action that is fard in namaz, and you remember it in namaz, so you have to fulfill it in namaz itself. This is when you skip any fard in salat. If you skip any wajib in salat, and then you remember it in salat itself before you finish the salah, but you have skipped the wajib, so because the wajib level is lesser than fard, so you don't have to go back to fulfill that wajib. You continue to namaz as you go on, and the end of the namaz, before you finish your namaz, you just do sajdatu as-sahw. Sajdatu as-sahw, the sajda of forgetting. We call this sajdatu sahwi, the sajda of forgetting. Okay. Now, if you have skipped the action of sunnah in namaz, for example, or the action of mustahab, recommended action in namaz, it is not fard, it is not wajib, but it is either sunnah or it is just recommended. It's better to do it. So if you skip sunnah or mustahab, so this does not bring any harm in your namaz. You continue as it is, you finish your namaz normally, but it is preferable not to skip any sunnah in namaz, because sunnah has a very high position in Sharia, the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, coming to a question, if you skip the first tashahhud in the 2nd rakat, if you are performing 4 rakat or 2 rakat or 3 rakat, because only in Fajr you have only 1 tashahhud, but in Maghrib, Dhuhr, Asr, and Isha you have 2 tashahhud. In Maghrib you have 1 tashahhud after 2 rakat, and the last tashahhud is after 1 rakat, that is the 3rd rakat. And Dhuhr and Asr you have 2 rakat after every so you have 2 tashahhud after every 2 rakats. So if you have skipped the first tashahhud, so you have to understand that in which category the first tashahhud falls. If it falls in al-fard, it falls in al-fard, so there's no way for you to finish your namaz if you remember in namaz itself, unless you come back, you fulfill it, that one. But the first tashahhud is not fard. You get it? The first tashahhud is wajib. We call it wajib. So the rule of Sharia, when you skip wajib, you don't go back to it. You don't go back to it, because after wajib, farz come. So if you stop to fulfill the farz and go back to fulfill the wajib, it is as if you have given importance to something which is less over something which is greater, because fard is greater than wajib. Wajib is lesser than fard. Are you getting my explanation? So the first tashahhud is wajib, and after the first tashahhud, qiyam is fard. Qiyam is farz. It means it is obligatory. The qiyam is obligatory in salat. So if you stand up and you remember that I have skipped a tashahhud, and if you decide to go back, it is as if you have given importance to that lesser important thing over something which is greater than it. Okay, so here Sharia says if you skip wajib, you don't have to go back to fulfill it. Just continue to namaz as it is. You have forgotten the first tashahhud, you remember in namaz, not intentionally, unintentionally. If you do it intentionally, then this is another case. But unintentionally, if you skip the wajib and you remember in namaz itself, so you continue, with your salat, you finish. If it is 4 rakat, you stand for the 3rd rakat and for the 4th rakat. Then before you finish your salat, you just say one salam, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Then you go for sajdatul sahw. Then you finish your namaz. Your namaz is okay. But if you remember after completion of your salat that I have completed my salat, but I have skipped one wajib, so in that case, Sharia tells us, fiqh tells us that that prayer is wajibul i'ada. It is wajibul i'ada, since you have skipped wajib in namaz and you remembered it after the namaz. So the condition of the namaz is wajibul i'ada, that it is wajib for you to undo that namaz. Are you getting my point? It is wajib for you to undo that namaz. So this is how it is.
Excuse me, you have to redo the namaz?
Yeah, undo it means to redo. Yeah. Okay. So you replace that, you do it that namaz again if you skip a wajib. And if you skip any farz in namaz itself, so you have to go back to fulfill that wajib. For example, you forgot to go to ruku. Ruku, it is fard, it is rukun, arkanus salah. The rukun of, it is a pillar of salah. When you are in namaz, you have stood up and you perform your Fatiha and Surah. Then instead of going for ruku, you went direct to sajda. And then you remember that I have skipped my ruku. So because ruku, it is fard, and sajda it is fard, so they are equal, they are leveled, the status are leveled. So there's no difference between you go back, because if you go back, you are still going to fulfill the fard, and if you are still in that status of sajda, you are still in the fard. You understand? So you go back and fulfill that ruku, then you go for sajda and you continue to namaz. And the end of the namaz, you do the same as you did for wajib. You perform one salam. According to madhab Hanafi, you perform one salam, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, then you do sajdatul sahw, because the point of forgetting is still there. The difference is only that if you did not go back to fulfill that fard, it will nullify your namaz. So your sajdatul sahw will not help you with anything. But in wajib, you don't go back, but your namaz will be controlled and will be taken care by sajdatul sahw. But in fard, you have to go back to fulfill that part of the fard which you have left, and also the end of the namaz you do sajdatul sahw. So both of them are very crucial in namaz. If you skip fard, to redo that fard and also sajdatul sahw. But if you leave wajib So you can skip the wajib and leave it, and at the end of the namaz you perform the sajdatu as-sahu, and your namaz will go like this. If you remember that you have skipped farz after the namaz, so the namaz is not valid. So it is as if you have not performed your namaz. So go back and perform that namaz again. Clear? Anything else in the topic what we are about? Timing, about obligatory of namaz, anything else? Ishraq? Yeah, namaz ishraq starts from the time that namaz is allowed to perform in. That is, we say that Salatul Fajr is from Tulu'i Shamsi, Tulu'i Al-Fajr Sadiq ila Tulu'i Shams. So from the Fajr till Tulu'i Shams, this is the time of Fajr only. Okay? Now after Tulu'i Shams, after the sunrise, there is a time you have to give it, because it is not allowed to perform namaz during sunrise, as I said before. So after in fiqh, inshallah, we'll come in these discussions also. In fiqh, say till the sun goes rises and come to the length of rumh. Rumh we call the arrow. You know the arrow, तीर जिसको कहते हैं तीर. तो जब सूरज निकल जाता है और तीर की लंबाई तक ऊपर आ जाए, that is the time you can perform any namaz now. So from sunrise to that length of one arrow, between that particular time you should not perform any namaz. Then let us say after 15 minutes, from the sunrise to 15 minutes, that duration you should not perform namaz. Then after that you can perform namaz, and that is the Salatul Ishraq. Salatul Ishraq.
Any class there? Any class?
Then Salatul Ishraq will go on, you can perform any namaz there till the time of Zawal. Not Zawal, the time of Istiwa. Okay? When it is Istiwa, just few minutes before Istiwa, that when the sun is completely on top of your head, direct on top of your head, that is the time you cannot perform. So from the time of Ishraq till some minutes before Istiwa, you can perform any namaz you want. You can perform Ishraq, you can perform Salatul Duha, you can perform Nawafil, you can perform the Qaza, you can perform anything. But when the sun reaches exactly on top of your head, that is Istiwa. That you should hold yourself from performing namaz. Then when it becomes Zawal, when the sun goes left or goes right, then from that time you can perform. The Zuhur prayer starts, because Salatul Dhuhri means Zawali Shamsi, is from the Zawal ila an yasira dhillu kulli shay'in mithlaihi aw mithlahu, till the shadow of everything become twice in terms of length or become equal. That is the time of Salatul Dhuhr. So from Zawal till the shadow become twice or equal, that is the time you can perform Dhuhr, you can perform any other namaz. Then the namaz of the time of Asr begins. Okay? Okay. Now let us take some few tips of Quran. And for this, we are going to, there are many, most of you have already followed this. You are not beginners, especially you, I remember, and some sisters here and mothers, and also most of you have already done, but as we started as a revision, so let us just take it as a revision, but I'm sure that it will help you also. So the first thing we are going is about the makharij. About the makharij, and this is very crucial, as I said again and again repeatedly, that the only problem we have today in our life, in our recitation, is because our qaida which we read is not well taught. The qaida that is alif ba ta tha. Okay, since our alif ba ta tha is not read properly, is not taught properly, so that's why we are facing problem. Even when we get older, we find that we are not able to read Quran properly. Then we ask ourselves the question that I have read Qaida, I have read all this with this Ustani, with this Ustad, with this Janab, then why still I'm not able to read Quran? So Qaida is the foundation. It is just a small book containing few pages, but this is a crucial foundation for anyone who wants to read Quran properly. If you succeed in reading Qaida properly, so according to me, 90% you won't need any teacher to guide you to read the Quran. 90%. You'll just need someone to polish it a bit. You'll be fluently able to read the Quran by yourself if your Qaida is nice. And this is my experience also. And I'm sorry, but I have to give this example because this is the best example I have in front of me. Don't take it negatively, take it positively, please. I have experienced this with 3 of my students. One is my daughter herself. I never taught my daughter to sit down and read the Quran. Never. I just taught her Qaida only. It took me 2 years to do that. Some parents, they complain why my son or my daughter is still in Qaida, 6 months still in Qaida, 7 months still in Qaida, but they don't know how important Qaida is. And the more time the child takes from in Qaida, when he gets or she gets a good teacher, the better and the quicker she will be able to read Quran in future. You understand? So I never taught my daughter to sit down and read Surah Fatiha, Surah Baqarah, whatever. I just taught her Qaida only, nicely. And she came in a position that she can read Quran by herself. When I started making her becoming Hafiza, I never sat down and just told her, no. I just read one page for her and I told her, okay, go and memorize this. This is the benefit of reading Qaida properly. And I have also other 2 students in Madrasa, which I did the same thing with them. One of them is Hafiz Talha, if you know him, Talha Acha. You understand? So it is my experience, and this is the reality. The stronger your Qaida is, the easier your Quran is going to be. And the weaker your Qaida is, the weaker your Quran is going to be. And any mistake, you are going to spare it while reading Qaida. That mistake will never leave you even if you go to your qabr. I have that mistake. And this mistake, I corrected it some 5 years back. And I never realized that I was doing that mistake. It was not a major mistake, but I never realized. It was in 16 Sipara, the first 2 lines of 16 Sipara. You understand? I was doing door. That's why it is very important for someone to listen to you, someone who is better than you, someone who is in the equal level of you, to listen to you, so that when you are reading, you get lost. You don't know what you are reading. You just want to pressurize yourself to finish reading what you are reading. But who is listening to you, he's very cautious, he's very attentive, so he captures your mistakes. You understand? So I corrected that mistake for long time, from 1995, the time I became a Hafiz, till just recently after coming to Mauritius, I realized that I have made that mistake. It was not a major mistake, but as a Qari, as someone who is in the field of Qira'ah, it sounds awkward and funny. You understand? So the mistake you do in Qaida, this mistake, no matter how big Qira'at you do later, but since you have that mistake and you never corrected it, so that mistake will accompany you in your entire life. So Qaida is very important. Whenever your kids are reading Qaida, you should be very serious in it than thinking about when she is going to complete Quran. Make her finish the Qaida properly and perfectly, then you won't worry about her Quran, because then Quran will just come in their lips. They will be able to read the Quran without problem. So that's why we start with this Qaida, but the only thing is to focus. Don't take it in a cultural way or in a customary way, which we have been reading in Janab's madrasa, in these small places, in your street, in your neighbors, whatever. You understand? And my concern is sometimes we come forward to teach children when we are not fit for that particular subject. Just because I'm a teacher, I'm a ustad or I'm a ustani, does not mean that you can teach Quran, you can teach Hadith, you can teach Islamiyat, you can teach whatever. If you are a teacher, you must be a teacher of a particular subject. So if you cannot read Quran or you cannot teach Quran properly, don't take the responsibility of teaching Quran. Because the mistake you are doing while teaching, this mistake, if is not corrected in future, it will be transferred to many other people. The mistake I take to teach my children, they are going to teach others also, and they will teach others also, and this continuation of the mistake will carry on till the day of judgment. And in the day of Qiyamah, then I will realize that, oh, I have done such a great mistake. No, for example, if it is destined for me to have millions of students through my students, for example, my students, their students, millions of students, and the mistake I did on the first day I was teaching my student, and he never got someone to correct him, so he'll continue the same mistake. And the day of the end of the day, we'll find that millions students are mine through my students, but millions mistake have been made also. You understand? So especially for the Quran, for Islamiyat it's okay. Islamiyat, even you can go to Google or whatever and just take the rules of namaz and teach someone, no problem in that. But for Quran, you must have someone who is specialist in that. For the Quran, because this is the kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which we don't care about it. So for the Quran, we should be very serious about it, because slightly mistake you do, this will be on your shoulder till the day of judgment. So Ustaniya and Ustad who know that my Quran is not good, my Tajweed is not good, my rules and regulations of the reading Quran is not good, so don't take the responsibility of being a permanent teacher of Al-Quran. Just do it as a part-time job, and at the same time encourage the parents of your students to look for someone who is better in this field. For example, if you come to me and say you want to learn English, for example, okay, I speak a very broken English, very low and very cheap English, and someone else come and tell me he or she want to learn Arabic, I will not take responsibility of teaching both languages just because I'm the boss here or I'm in front of you. I'll tell you my English is not good. Me, myself, I struggle a lot to speak English. You understand? Academically, I'm not so good. You are quite educated people. But Arabic, because it is my field, I'll sit down and teach you the rules of Arabic. You understand? But I should not take responsibility to teach someone English. The same way, Quran is my field, alhamdulillah, and I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that. This is the best field someone would ever find himself or herself in. So if you come to me and tell me I want to learn Quran, of course I'll teach you Quran. If you tell me you want to read Sabah Qira'at, other Qira'at of Al-Quran Al-Kareem, Warsh, Qalun, and Hamza, and all these Qira'at, I'll tell you my professionality is limited with Qira'atul Hafs, Riwayatul Hafs only. So I'll teach you only Hafs. I have learned other Qira'at, but I don't have the ijazah in those Qira'at. So I cannot take responsibility to teach you. Why do we say وَالضُّحَى وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا سَجَى مَا وَدَّعَكَ رَبُّكَ وَمَا قَلَى وَلَلْآخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ لَكَ مِنَ الْأُولَى. These are Qira'at. I know them, but I don't have the ijazah to teach. You understand? You see how big responsibility is? I know them, but I can't teach you because I don't have ijazah for that. You understand? I have ijazah on riwayat of Hafs only. The normal way, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin, not even Maliki Yawmiddin, Iyaka na'bud wa Iyaka nasta'in, Ihdina az-Zirata, this is al-Qira'ah, you understand? Ihdina az-Zirata al-Mustaqim, Ihdina as-Sirata al-Mustaqim, these are Qira'at of Surah Al-Fatiha. But my version, my ijazah is Ihdina as-Sirata. That's why if you read Ihdina az-Zirata in front of me, I'll tell you are reading wrong. Not because the qira'at is wrong, but the version we are reading, according to that version, you are reading wrongly. You understand? So these are responsibility, we need to be aware of them. And that's why we spoil the reading of our children. When they come to me, I find them, some children, they have read 10 sipara, 15 sipara, but many of them I start qaida with them. Many of them I start qaida after even 5 sipara, 6 sipara. Because me as a responsible teacher of the Quran, I can't take this responsibility to carry on with that students when I know their beginning is not proper instructed. You understand? So some they stick with me, and some they get fed up. No, pagapav. They go away and they read the Quran the way they want to read. So Allah Ta'ala knows how to deal with them. So qaida is very important. And some mothers also. Recently, one boy came to me. He has memorized 7 sipara, taught by his mother. Is very good. But you as a mother, you should know don't just use your emotions, because you can read the Quran kumsa kumsa, and you just want your child to become hafiz, and you just teach him the way you think you can teach him. When it is too late, it will be very difficult to bring this child in a proper track. You understand? So it's better for you to look for someone before you start, because kids learn by listening from their parents more than from other people. So when they get used to listen your language, to listen your pronunciation, to listen how you read Quran, it will be a headache for another teacher to control that boy. You understand? So look for someone who is eligible, who have this, which is difficult nowadays. Ahl Sunnah the Jama'ah, mashallah. Our Sunniyat is only eating biryani, gyari, or whatever. We don't pay attention to Quran al-Kareem. And when others, they come fully in this field, then we tell them they are Gustaki Rasul, whatever. So if they are Gustaki Rasul, you are also Gustaki Rasul, because you are not giving importance to the Al-Quran al-Kareem. Are you getting my point? But we have a double standard. We call them Gustaki Rasul because they don't perform Mawlud, they don't do Niyazi, they don't do Fatiha wa ghaira, they don't do Salam standing, they are Gustaki Rasul. And why you don't call yourself Gustaki Rasul? Because you are not giving importance to the Quran the way Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did it. Are you getting my point? You understand? So let us stop this blame game, the game of blaming one another. Let us assume our responsibilities properly. So let us take, I'm sorry, when I start talking then I don't stop. I'm sorry for that. But I hope my talks will benefit you. I'm just talking this to make your mind prepared for these small girls. Now this girl, look at this girl, this cute girl, this one. So how much we as parents, how much responsibility do we have towards them? You understand? If we are going to misdirect them in terms of reading Quran, in coming future, in 10 years or 20 years, they'll be in the same position where you are today. Are you getting my point? But if we are serious with them, tomorrow they'll be in my position. They'll be teaching others. You understand? So these are the things we need to open our minds. Sometimes it is very painful for me to see what is happening in Sunni environment, so-called Sunni environments, that we neglect the principles of Islam. And Quran is the major principle, because there is no ibadah which is accomplished without Al-Quran Al-Kareem. You understand? So we don't pay attention on that. So have mercy on these kids and try to come back slowly by slowly, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will open way for that, inshallah. So what is Tajweed? Tajweed is the set of rules through which the words of the Quran should be pronounced during its recitation. The package of rules, the set of rules that you need to provide them, to read them, to introduce them when you read Al-Quran Al-Kareem. Just like in namaz, there is farz, there is wajib, there is sunnah. So in Tajweed also, there are some rules which are compulsory, very crucial. You have to apply them. There are some, they are just optional, and there are some, they are just preferable. But the main things in the Al-Quran Al-Kareem is to focus on the crucial rules of Tajweed. And that we call it, we divide it into 2 categories. The Lahnul Jali, can you say this? Lahnul Jali and Lahnul Khafi. Lahnul Jali is the major mistake, the mistake that cannot be forgiven at all. Because by reading that way, by committing that Lahnul Jali in recitation, you are changing the meaning of Al-Quran Al-Kareem. For example, if you say, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Malik Yawmiddin, Iyaka na'budu. Iyaka na'budu, what does that mean? Iyaka na'budu? Iyaka na'budu, what does that mean? Yeah, we worship only you, Iyaka. So kaf is with fatha, this is using for masculine. So instead of iyaka, if you say iyaki na'budu, you have changed the gender of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as feminine. So this is lahnul jali. It has completely changed the meaning of the Al-Quran Karim. So immediately, if you read it in namaz, your namaz is immediately become fasid. You understand? If you remember, immediately you have to correct that mistake. If you leave it that way, you destroy your namaz, you destroy the namaz of your followers also. This is lahnul jali. And lahnul khafi is the minor mistake. Lahnul khafi is the minor mistake. This minor mistake should not be done, okay? Especially for qurra, the qaris who are in the field of qira'ah like us. We also should take care of the lahnul khafi. We should not make because if we give the free hand to do these small mistakes, then others, what are they going to do? So we should maintain them, but then try to encourage people to do it, but not with force. The force will be used to maintain the rules of lahnu al-jali. There's no compromise in that. But in lahnul khafi, there is some, no problem. If the students are not so sharp, just focus on their lahnul jali and let them skip lahnul khafi. Like for example, ghunna, like you qul a'udhu bi rabb, the ghunna, the qalqala, the idgham, and the mad al-munfasil. For example, you are reading قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ لَا أَعْبُدُ مَا تَعْبُدُونَ. You don't stretch the mud. There's no problem. قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ. Falaq. You don't say qalaq. Falaq. You don't produce the qalqala of qaf. Falaq. You don't say that. No problem in the meaning. You understand? Min sharri ma khalaq. Min. You don't do the ghunna. You say min sharri ma khalaq. And it is min sharri, the ra should be thin. So instead of saying min sharri, you say min sharri ma khalaqa. It does not bring the beauty, but it does not change the meaning. So these we call them lahnul khafi, the minor mistakes. But the minor mistakes are the mistake which beautifies Quran. They make Quran look more beautiful. Min sharri ma khalaq is different from saying min sharri ma khalaq, min sharri ma khalaq, min sharri. Where is the beauty? In min sharri, it is fine. It is sounding nicely than to say min sharri. So these are the two main discussion and mistake that we need to focus on Al-Quran Al-Karim. Now, in the Al-Quran Al-Karim, we have only this huruf that contains the entire Quran from alif till ya. Alif, read with me. Alif. Ba. Ta, and this is the point for you to build your Quran. Some people, they take them as very easy alphabets. No, it is to know them by looking them, to recognize them. Once you see this form on the board, you know this is alif, this is ba. Also to know where do these huruf come from. You understand? It's very crucial. And that's why in all Tajweed lessons, you take any Tajweed book, you'll not find any rules. First of all, you'll see the makharijul huruf first of all. The existence of the huruf is the first chapter taught in any Tajweed book. Because if your makharij are well understood and recognized, then the entire rules will be will be beneficial for you and will work for you properly. But if makharij, you don't know makharij, you don't know where this huruf come from, so the entire rule will be in vain. You'll just memorize the rule, but you'll never be able to apply the rules when you read Al-Quran Al-Karim. So makharijul huruf is very important. You know how to pronounce them, and you know where they come when you pronounce them. So alif. Okay. And here when you say alif, most of us will say alif, the style of our madrasa system. Alif, ba, ta, you understand? So the proper way of pronouncing alif is not alif, it is alif. 2 minutes, then I leave my place, inshallah. It is alif, alif, not alif, alif. Then ba, and this ba, actually it is ba'un, it is ba'un. So it is ba, ta, fa, Jim. Ha. Ha. Kha. Kha. And when you pronounce this kha, you don't functionize your mouth too much. Don't move your mouth too much by saying kha, kha. Notice kha, kha, dal, dal, ذال, ذال, ra, ra. Again, not ra, ra, ra. Min sharri. No, it is ra, ra, ra. Za, za. Sin, shin. Sad, ضاد طا ظا ظا عين غين غا 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 غين فا قاف كاف لام ميم نون واو واو ها همزة يا. So this we call them حروف الهجاء المفردة. حروف الهجاء المفردة, the single Arabic alphabets. So these are the foundation of Al-Quran Al-Kareem. Inshallah next week we'll continue with this Tajweed lesson inshallah. So let me give time to Sheikh Ziyad inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.